Hello and welcome to Wisdom Bites. Hope you're well. Thank you once again for joining us. Very much appreciated. And in today's video, I'm going to cover the short-term price action for Bitcoin, as well as the usual long-term picture, so that we've got all the information at our hand to make the right decisions. I'll also be covering the Bitcoin miners, especially HIVE blockchain. And in today's Wisdom Bite, I'm going to give you an insight into Sunday's video, which is going to include the topic of the Lord of the words. It's the one word that rules them all. In the Oxford Dictionary, there are 171,476 words, but there is one word that rules all of them without fail. And I'm going to give you an insight into what that word could be. And if that sounds interesting, then drop everything, sit yourself down, eyes on the screen, and let's get cracking. Okay, I'm going to start off with just an overview of this particular move that we've had since the COVID-19 situation here. I just want to bring to your attention something that we overlook when we're looking at the short-term analysis. So this is it basically. What we've got is, if you draw a line from here, the bottom of the COVID-19 situation, look where it goes. What we have here is an incredible support line which will guide you through the Bitcoin confusion that other people suffer from. There is no need to suffer any confusion because we've got this wonderful trend line that's been running since March 2020. That's last year, a year and a half ago. So whenever we see the price of Bitcoin coming back down towards this support line with a high degree of probability and accuracy, we can say that that's the bottom. And if you're looking to get in, that's the point to get in before we move further up. For the last few months, I've shown you this large-term picture that this trend line stretches back all the way back to 2010. And when the price was coming down here, and when everybody was saying that it may fall down, yes, that was a possibility, and I mentioned that many times. But I said that with a very high degree of probability, we're going to bounce off there, and that will be our low point, and that's what it's proven now. So we know now that this trend line was already a very strong trend line, but the fact that we've just bounced off this just here tells us that it's now even stronger than before. When we come back to anywhere along this line again, we know that this is going to prove a very strong resistance. Please remember that these crypto markets and stock markets are all about probabilities, not certainties or guarantees. We can only look at the charts and give our verdict in terms of a probability, i.e. a higher or a lower degree of probability to do what we think it may do, based on what we see in the charts in terms of resistance, support, and the various indicators. So this is where we're at. So if we look at the shorter term analysis, exactly what's going on here currently. We're going to start off on the daily chart and have a look at the 200 daily moving average, which is the green line here. And this is crossed here by the white line, which is the 50 daily moving average. And in my many videos now, I've been mentioning this particular support and resistance line at $42,000 and $43,000 based on this resistance here and this support here, as well as the various supports along the way. And I've mentioned that in order for this trend to reverse, we need the price, first of all, to cross the 50 daily moving average, which is done here. And I said that once it does that, instead of being bearish, I'll become neutral here. And then the next point to cross would be the $42,000, $43,000 mark, which will give me a lot more confidence that we're now going back in the bull rally. And the final piece of the jigsaw was that we get above the 200 daily moving average. Of all the indicators, that's the one that tells us which trend we're in. And if you're below this green line here, you're in a downtrend. But once you pass above it, that's the signal that now you're about to go into an uptrend here. And so now, with a very high degree of confidence, I can say that we have now gone back to be doing this, what we did here, to be doing this in the next few weeks and months. If we zoom in here, in my last video, I said that when we get to this line here, the 200 daily moving average, we will see some sort of a correction. And we got that in this daily candle here. But once we got above this line here, we're trying to create some structure to give us a springboard to be able to bounce to the upside. Just like here, created structure here, and then we went up. So here it may well be that we have another bull flag before we move up to the upside. So this is what I want to look at today, this part here, what's going to happen in the next few days. But before I do that, what we can say here is that the crossing of the 200 daily moving average is now bullish for Bitcoin. A quick look at the 21 weekly exponential moving average. Once again, this really tells us whether we're in this bull market or not. And since we fell down here, which was totally unprecedented in any previous bull market with Bitcoin, everyone was worried that we may have topped out here and that we are now starting a new bear market. It's not ideal, but once we get above it, we'll be back in the bull market. And this is exactly what we did when this candle closed last Sunday. And we're continuing that bullish run with this candle here. So we may be in for a little bit of a correction back to these levels here at the 21 weekly, which is at 40,000. I'll give you those levels in a few minutes, but I just wanted to bring this to your attention that the weekly, just like the 200 daily moving averages showing bullishness and for the direction of the price to move to the higher side, so is the 21 weekly exponential moving average. Another bullish factor that's telling us that the price of Bitcoin has now turned around and we're moving to the upside direction is the 4-hourly EMA ribbons. So we broke out these ribbons here around about July, mid-July here. So we've been using these ribbons as support for the last month and a half. And currently we find ourselves still just about above the ribbons here. So as long as we're above this price here at 43,400, on the 4-hourly we're still bullish. And on the daily chart, we seem to have gone way ahead. And it may well be that we have a little correction here to meet up with the ribbons at these points here. So I am expecting a correction, as I've said before in the last video, that once we move up to the 46,000 mark, we're going to have a little bit of a correction, and this is where it seems to be. And I'll look at those levels in a minute. If you want to support the channel, then please click on any of my videos, and then below the videos you'll find a box called Show More, which gives you a description box. And in that description box is the affiliate link with Etoro that I have. So I partner up with Etoro because that's the main exchange I use for all my investments. These are the reasons why I tend to use Etoro. It's a very simple exchange to use in terms of depositing money and withdrawing the money, as well as trading if that's what you want to do, as well as for long-term investing, which is what I tend to do. So if you want to support the channel, please click on the partnership link, and then what you'll do is you'll get this box here, and then you can basically put your username, email and password and just fill in the form there. If you like any of my videos and you find value in them, then please don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Another sign that we've now turned the corner is that I showed you this pattern here, the bump and run. So basically we've used this line here as resistance, and I said that when we come up to this line we're going to have a correction more than likely here, which is what we had, and I give you those levels of the 38.2 Fibonacci retracement level, as well as the 50% and the 61.8, and it came right down to the 38.2 level, which was 37,500, and we've bounced off that here and gone back and actually broken that resistance on this bump and run pattern here. And we know with the bump and run pattern this is very bullish, and once you get past that, then we're basically on our way up. It can still come back and retest this as support. That's still entirely possible, but certainly we have broken this trend line here and are now in the midst of going back towards the higher levels. And finally, if we look at the volume here, it tells us a story. As we were rising up here, if you look at the bars down here, you can see there was a lot of green candles here. It's more greenish than reddish. So that tells us that we were in a bull market here. And then when we got to the top here, if you look, you'll see it's mostly reddish rather than greenish. And then since here, in the last few weeks, as you can see, we're now turning more greenish again. So this is really the start of a major uptrend that we're in here. And also, if you notice, the volumes are now picking up. Not only is it green, but the volumes are picking up. So there's a lot of people coming into the market, a lot of interest being shown in the Bitcoin market. We had flattened down quite a bit here, as you can see. The low volumes here was a clue that people have lost interest. And that's usually the time when we start moving in the opposite direction. So what can possibly go wrong? Well, in the short term, as you can see on the RSI, we are overheated. We're overbought. We've had this magnificent run up to here, and we've been very bullish up to these levels, but there are signs that we're going to have a little bit of a correction, because if you look at the divergence here on the 1 hourly chart, the RSI has made a lower high while the price has made a higher high. So we would expect a cooling of the market here in the next few days. And if I bring your attention to the TD sequential, as we had this run up here, we went up to the 9 TD sequential, which tells you that the market is now overbought, and we had a correction here, and we've now had another run here, currently at the 8, and as you can see, we've had a very good run up here. So we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 candles in a row on a daily basis. So we just shot up to this trend line, had the correction, and now we've shot up again. And obviously markets don't work like this. Whenever you have these types of rallies, they're usually intersected by corrections. And I would expect the price to come back down, and I'll give you those levels in a second. But I wanted to bring to your attention that on the TD sequential, which is another indicator, remember all indicators all add and contribute to the overall picture. We can't take one indicator as sacrosanct and say that's the one indicator that is the most important. That's not the case. We have to have a confluence of factors, a confluence of indicators giving us an overall picture. Then we've got to use our judgment as to come to a conclusion of where we think the price is going to be. So where could the price of Bitcoin come down to if we're going to have a correction here? And this tells us that you can't just keep going up in a straight line here. It has to be interspersed by corrections, whether we like them or not. And the main thing is always to be objective. The best ways to look at the levels is always, for me anyway, and I find this highly accurate, is to use the Fibonacci retracement. And in the last few videos, you'll have noticed that I've been giving you these levels that where we're going to have the correction on here is going to be based on this Fibonacci retracement level. So you take it from the 64,000 where it topped out to the bottom here, where it bottomed out recently at 28,800 or 28,700. And I gave you this level in the last video that we're going to come up to at least the 50% level at 46,800 here. And this is exactly what's happened here. Look at that. It's come up to that line and we're now having a retracement. And I've also said that the main correction is going to be here, because this is where Bitcoin has the highest degree of affinity, which is a 61.8, and that's at 51,100. So you're going to find we're going to have a major correction here, major in terms of a bigger correction than you would get from like this here. I would be very surprised if we barged through this level here at 51,100. But certainly we're going to have a little correction where we are now at the 46,800 mark. I think we've reached as far as 46,700. So it didn't quite hit the 46,800, but that's what Bitcoin does. It likes to tease. It's a right little teaser. So what can we expect for the price to come down to here while we're at these levels? So just like we worked out the bottom here, from this point, we can work out some levels that the current price can come back down to and use that as a trampoline to bounce back up again. So we take the price from the bottom here to where it's just topped out at around about the 46,700 mark. And we can see quite clearly that the first level of the 23.6 is at 44,500. I think it looks like that with a very high degree of probability we're going to hit this level here at 44,500. But more likely with a higher degree of probability, just like we did over here when we came up from this level and we hit the 38.2, I think we're going to come back down at the 43,100 level here. So 43,100 is the most likely target for Bitcoin here. And because there is so much strength in the price and there's so much momentum in the market, it may not have an appetite to go lower than that. If I just move the chart to the left here. So the 50% level here is at the 42,000 mark. This is obviously still a possibility. And the 61.8 is at 40,000, which is exactly where the 21 weekly exponential moving average is, as I've shown you earlier. So these are the levels to look out for. The 43 is the most likely target. And then if it's got an appetite to go a little bit lower, it's going to be at 42,000. And to the 21 weekly moving average at 40,000. So let's wait and see. But these are the objective levels that we can look at before we move to the higher ground. I'm going to finish off this Bitcoin analysis on these two charts. The first one being the hash ribbons on a weekly chart. What we've just got recently in the last few days is a buy signal exactly where we're at currently there. Now, why is that significant? Well, this is the BLX chart since 2010. And every blue dot that you can see here, all these blue dots, I've marked them with these pink vertical lines here at exact points when these were actually signaled. The first one here was there. Although it was followed by a fall in the market. Remember, these are weekly signals. They're not for the next few hours or the next few days. They're weekly signals. What they're saying is that the market is bottoming out and we're on our way to a larger rally. And this was followed by this. And in between, we got another blue signal here, which was confirming this signal. And then the final one we had was over here, which culminated in the blow off top at this point here. And if you look at these three, 1, 2, 3, and this was the prelude to this. And we got no blue dots anywhere around here up to that point. So those three were your clues that you need to get into the market, otherwise you're going to get left behind. After this 2017 top of the market, followed by the bear market, we got another blue dot here at this point. And look what happened there. But in this bull market, for the first time ever, we've had 1, 2, 3, 4, and now we've got 5. Does that mean this market's going to have a lot more fuel to go much higher? Only time will tell. But certainly it's very unprecedented to have 5. And at each point, it's been followed by an upturn. Although we had this COVID situation, which was from this candle here. However, if you'd have just invested in this market around these levels, where these 3 blue dots came, you would have caught this massive rise that we've had up to 64,000. So this brings us to this current blue dot here. Now, any rational person with objectivity will tell you that if you've had 11 signals previously, which have all led to a massive rally in the upcoming weeks and months, then this dot is telling you a very strong picture that we're about to do the same here. These blue dot signals have never been wrong in the last 11 years. So with a very high degree of probability, we can say that this is telling you that we are now about to take off in the upside direction. And the final chart I want to show you today is on the weekly time frame, is the stock to flow chart. Extremely important. If you want to have a look at the bigger picture, you mustn't take your eye off this one, because as I've shown you many times in the past, every time we get an increase in the stock to flow, it's usually at this point here where the price is at a low level. We get a rise here and then it goes sideways, and what happens is that the price catches up to that before we have a blow off top. Similar thing happened here. The stock to flow rose at this point here when the price was lower, and the stock to flow line went sideways as usual like it did previously, and the price came up to meet that, and once it met this, we had a blow off top. Now we're having a similar one here. We got this rise in the stock to flow at this point when the price was lower, just after the COVID situation. And I mentioned at the time when I did this video, if you go back in history, that I'm expecting the price to do exactly what's done in the past to meet the stock to flow at this point. Obviously we're having a correction at this point here, but look, we're just having another increase in the stock to flow line here. So with a high degree of probability, we know that this is going to now go sideways here. And while the price is low here, let me get rid of this. The price, as you can see, is at these low levels while we've got the increase in the stock to flow ratio here. So while we're expecting it to do this, we're going to see the price come up to meet this level here at around about the 140, 150,000 level. And after that is when we're going to get a blow off top, and before we go back into the bear market. So this level here could be anything. It could be anywhere from 300, 400 or 500,000. My target, as you know, if you've been watching my videos, has always been $300,000 or thereabouts by the end of this year. So let's wait and see, but keep these in mind. These are very important clues as to what Bitcoin is going to do. These are leading indicators telling us what the price is about to do. A quick look at the Bitcoin miners. Today I'm going to have a look at HIVE blockchain. The beauty about HIVE is that it's not only a Bitcoin miner, but it also is an Ethereum miner. So if you want to have a play on the Bitcoin and Ethereum miners, then HIVE would present a fantastic opportunity currently. If we have a look at the overall picture with HIVE, once HIVE broke this neckline here, and this is a pattern I've repeatedly been showing you for the many months now, is this cup and handle pattern. And once we come back to the neckline again here, guess what happens? We have a massive rise here. And since this point here, we can see that HIVE technology took off around here, November 2020. So just about 9 months ago, just when Bitcoin started going up, it broke this neckline here and went from there all the way by 1,199, so 1,200% within the space of November and February. So within 3 months, it went up 1,200%. I believe strongly that it's about to do something very similar here. Because if you look at the neckline here, it's very similar to this neckline here. It looks to me that we're about to break the neckline here. Whether we go up by 1,200% or even more, which is what I'm expecting, certainly HIVE block technology, if you want to have a play on Bitcoin mining and Ethereum mining, this is the one to play, HIVE block technology. If we zoom out, you can see that this current neckline corresponds with its previous all-time high around here in 2017. And if you want to work out the price of where HIVE block technology can go, if we measure Bitcoin and the target we've got is 300,000 based on 15 times its previous high of 20,000, then on that basis, the high for HIVE technology was reached here at around about $6.70. So on that basis, the current price where it is here at $4 would take the HIVE price to around about $60. From here to around about there. And that will give about a 1,400%, 14 times where it is currently. In my humble opinion, that may prove conservative. And the reason for that is that these Bitcoin mining and Ethereum mining companies are mining these Bitcoins and Ethereums at a very small price. And as the price of Ethereum and Bitcoin goes up, the profits that these companies have are exponentially higher than what the investors are paying for these along these lines here. So while their costs are very, very negligible at low levels, their profit margins are going to be higher as the price of Ethereum and Bitcoin goes up. So only time will tell, but certainly $60 seems like a very modest price target for the next few months as Bitcoin tops off at around about the 300,000. And of course, if Bitcoin doesn't reach those levels and Ethereum doesn't reach our target of 21,000, then we have to price that into the equation. But certainly, this is an incredible opportunity here to buy HIVE technology. And finally, a little insight into the wisdom bite I'm going to do next Sunday. And it's called The Lord of the Words. There are over 171,000 words in the Oxford Dictionary. But there is one word that rules them all. And that is the Lord of the words. Can you guess which it is? I'll reveal that in the next video, but to give you a little bit of a teaser, it's a word that can take you from being unsuccessful to being extremely successful. It can take you from the B roads of life to the fast highways and motorways of life. It can totally transform your happiness from being sad and miserable and depressed to being one of the most happiest people that anybody can ever imagine. So can you guess what that word is? I'm going to reveal that in next week's video, but please let me know what you think that word might be. Okay, so we'll wrap it up there. Thank you once again for watching. And if you found value in the technical analysis today, then please do remember to like and subscribe and to turn on the notification bell. And if you want to leave any comments, questions or suggestions, then please leave them in the comments below. Until the next time, take care, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.